If you're watching this video, you probably haven't seen Judas and the Black Mesa. Or you might have watched it. Or you may just be looking for a movie to watch. Well, Judas and the Black Mesa just may be that movie. It honestly may be the movie of 2021. Yes, I know it's only 2 months in, but that's not the point. Friday, February the 12th, Judas and the Black Mesa comes out to theaters. Yes, some theaters are open. I was surprised too. But also HBO Max for those who don't want to go to theaters. And luckily enough, thanks to a good friend of mine, I was able to watch this movie early, and I figured, why not do a review? And alongside myself, I got my good friend, writer and director Tremonti Hawkins here to help me review it. So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll know what the movie is actually about. You'll know the breakdown of the characters and the movie itself from a filmmaker standpoint. And then afterwards, we'll give our thoughts, ratings, and opinions on the film itself. And hopefully you'll gain some insight from it. So hit that subscribe button, and if you like movies or drinking tea, go and hit that like button too. Okay, so what exactly is this movie about? So Judas and the Black Mesa tells the story of Fred Hampton, the chairman of the Illinois Black Panther Party, and his fatal betrayal by a FBI informant, William O'Neal. Now, it was directed by Shaka King, the award-winning director who brought us the Hulu original Strill, HBO's High Maintenance, and TBS People of Earth. It was produced by Ryan Coogler. You may know him from Black Panther or Creed 2. And it's also produced by Sorry to Bother You producer Charles King. And the movie itself has a heavy cast that includes Daniel Kaluuya from multiple films like Get Out, Black Mirror, and Black Panther. Now, if you don't know who that is, then I hate to break it to you, but you've been living under a rock. But the good thing is you have me and my channel, Stevie TV. He plays Fred Hampton. Then you have Lakeith Stanfield. You may know him from Get Out, Atlanta, Sorry to Bother You, Knives Out, the list continues. He plays William O'Neal. You have Jesse Plemons, aka the bully from Like Mike, who plays the FBI agent Roy Mitchell. Dominique Fishback, who plays Deborah Johnson, the at the time girlfriend of Fred Hampton, who was also in Project Power on Netflix, as well as The Hate U Give. Ashton Sanders playing Jimmy Palmer, and you may know him from Moonlight, of course, and other powerhouses including Darrell Gibson playing Bobby Gush, and Little Rel Howery playing Wayne. The list goes on. Now, the movie itself follows William O'Neal, a petty criminal who's offered a plea deal to work as a informant for the FBI, specifically in the efforts to infiltrate the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party and gather intelligence on the Black Panther Party chairman, Fred Hampton. Now, the goal of the FBI was actually to silence Hampton and the Black Panther Party, but unfortunately, spoiler alert, stop this video if you don't want to be spoiled. Like, probably right now, because it gets worse as the video continues. But unfortunately to the FBI, killing him was the only way. Now, if you didn't know Fred Hampton, he was a charismatic, passionate, and outspoken activist who electrified and energized all the way throughout his speeches. And within the suburbs of Chicago, where I'm at, and around the world, he was able to make a huge impact. But of course, that concerned the FBI. Now, why was the FBI so concerned? Well, throughout the 50s and 60s, the FBI actually feared what they called the Black Mesa, which was someone who can lead and inspire the Black nation, but also change the status quo, aka their way of life. And they really did not want to give that up. They wanted to be the superiors. Now, this was driven by many pioneers like Malcolm X, MLK, Huey Newton, and obviously Fred Hampton. And that honestly became the subject of the movie. Now, fun fact, the term itself actually came from the head of the FBI, James Edward Hoover, whose goal was to prevent the rise of the Mesa. Now, fast forward in time, the movie actually shows how the FBI finally caught up with Fred Hampton with a fatal passing, including a raid which took his life at only 21 years old. Ryan Coogler mentioned that he was excited to work on this film, and he was compelled because he wanted to tell a story from our past, which remained very relevant right now and necessary to hear. And to be honest with you, he did an amazing job doing that. So now that you know more about the story itself and a little bit about the history and background, let me go ahead and pass it over to Tremonti Hawkins to break down the movie from a director's standpoint.
Now, this movie is about Fred Hampton's leadership inside the Black Panther movement. However, Fred Hampton is not the main character, which I think is the first interesting thing that they decided to do in this movie. They decided to make William O'Neal the main character, who is undercover for the FBI with the Black Panther Party. Most black movies will focus on, you know, the character with the name. Fred Hampton, Jackie Robinson, James Brown. You know, that's the main character of the movie, usually. But here they decided to not make him the main character, and it really allowed the movie to explore multiple viewpoints and kind of see the situation from a third person view. They didn't really give us much about O'Neill's thoughts on the Black Panther Party or what the police were doing. They kind of just let him be in that situation and kind of decide for himself based on who he was siding with at the time. Sometimes he was siding with the Black Panther Party and sometimes he was siding with the FBI. By making the main character a third party, we were able to explore both perspectives and kind of decide for ourselves who we thought was right and wrong. Now, by the end of the movie, they kind of showed you, you know, which side was worse. But at the beginning, they had us right there with O'Neill trying to decide working for the FBI or joining the Black Panthers. Now, along with that, they kept the tension at a maximum for as much of the movie as they could. They really fluctuated between focusing on Lakeith's character of O'Neill and his decision making and everything that he has to make between the FBI and the Black Panther Party. They fluctuated between that and focusing on Fred Hampton and what he was trying to do with the Black Panther Party and what his ideals were, and really how the Black Panther Party worked from the inside view. It kind of focused on both perspectives, but it switched back and forth perfectly. Like, it would go into Fred Hampton's personal life and with him and his girlfriend and stuff like that. And then right when they finished that scene up, they would remind you like, oh yeah, don't forget, O'Neill's still working for the cops. Or is he, you know? They're really good about reminding you like, hey, this tension's still here. One really good scene to characterize that is after Fred Hampton gets out of jail. I can do spoilers, right? Right? Yeah, you already took the spoiler warning before this, right? Okay, cool. I mean, it's really no spoilers if you know history, but that's cool. See, I didn't know anything about this movie coming into it, actually. I just read the description of it right before I watched it. So I really came into it blind. I'd seen a little bit of trailers and, you know, I thought it might be good, but it really blew my mind away. So anyway, the best example to characterize the tension was in the scene where Fred Hampton just got out of jail and he's basically giving his coming home speech, you know, his first day out single, if you will, you know. He's giving his speech and he's all passionate and everything and everyone's with him. And in the crowd, O'Neill sees the FBI agent that he's working for, and he's just staring at him, repeating the words back, just like everybody else in the crowd. And he's glaring at him like, who are you with right now, you know? It just kept that tension there for everybody, along with everything else that was going on with the scene. But that's just one example of how they kept the tension there. Along with that, the pacing was perfect of the movie. Like, they kept on raising the stakes at the right time. There was about three times where they really raised the stakes for Lakeith, where at first he's like, hey, if I'm gonna be undercover, you're gonna pay me, right? You're gonna give me a car, right? You're gonna make it worth my while. And he's like, sure. So at first it's a benefit. And then, you know, you get to the midpoint where the Black Panther Party decides to shoot at the cops, and he's like, I'm not shooting no cops, I'm not killing anybody, you know, I'm just doing this for information. He tries to get out. At that midpoint is where the FBI agent kind of cracks down on him and is like, that's not how this works. You can still go to jail for everything that you did. You know, you were stealing cars before. It ramps up the stakes there, like he can still go to jail. So he stays in it, and then it ramps it up at the very end when FBI agent wants him to assassinate Fred Hampton, and he really has to decide what he's gonna do there, and that's like the highest stakes. So it was at perfect times in the movie where they raised the stakes. It was great. Another really good thing they did was they had clips of Lakeith being interviewed. Lakeith's character being interviewed. They made it look old, and you know, they did the film technique and stuff to make it look like, you know, it was shot in the 40s or whatever time period it was, I forget. And it's probably not the 40s, it's probably like the 70s. I'm terrible with times, yo. Forgive me. And they kept cutting to his interview to kind of be like a type of narration, but they tied that together really well. At the end of the movie, they showed the real O'Neill, and the interview style was exactly the same as when Lakeith was there. So it was like they almost like got in the same seat. It really helped to pull you out of the movie in a good way and into real life and kind of say like, all of this that you just saw, this really happened in real life. Also, great thing about this movie was that it was very story focused. Now for me, I'm a very story focused person. I like good stories. I feel like if the story isn't good in a movie, then the rest of the movie really doesn't matter. It can be flashy, it can look beautiful, the music can be great, but if the story sucks, then the movie sucks. So here, they decided to focus on strictly the story, and I think that was a good decision because it is easy to fall into a trap that a lot of black movies fall into, where they kind of decide to stop the story of the movie to tell you about a moment in black history or something like that, or a viewpoint that the director or the author or the writer specifically has about whatever, you know, and they decide to just stop the movie and be like, hey, I think this. Or, hey, did you know that this happened? This movie didn't do that at all. All the black history moments were infused into the story, and they had real stakes and meaning inside the story. And it's like, that's how you really do it. Like we like to see the history, and we like to see the messages in the black movies. But if you do it too much, then it kind of cheapens the story, and it makes it not as entertaining. You know, you gotta eat your vegetables, but we like to season the vegetables as well. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like that analogy. Cool. The cinematography of this movie was great. All of the choices that they made were very intentional. They were actually choices. You know, in a lot of movies, you know, you might have two people talking, something's happening, you just have back and forth. Like, that's cool. Like, it services the movie. But here, they decided to have very intentional shots that meant something. It said more without saying anything. You know, and that is really where good cinematography comes in. And it also helps to enhance the story, but it doesn't get in the way of the story. A few examples. After O'Neal has tried to steal the car and he gets cut with a knife, he gets immediately arrested. I don't think he was a very good car thief. But at the very first shot, when he's sitting in the interrogation room, it's a shot of his boots and the blood splattering on the floor. And that, I thought, was to show how vulnerable he was. It didn't even show his face or anything like that, or a wide shot or anything. Like, you kind of knew how he felt just from the boots and the blood splattering on the floor. He was vulnerable to whoever was about to come in the room. And that's how the scene went. They basically took advantage of him and got him in the FBI undercover. Another one, right after he kind of infiltrated the Black Panther movement, he was feeling good about himself. He was feeling good about the movement also. And they had just a shot, just one scene, or really one shot, of him in his dark apartment, and they had a blue window and they had an orange window, and he sat on his bed, which was inside the orange window. Now, to me, that signified at that moment he agreed with the Black Panther Party, with the orange window, not the blue window, not the police, but he agreed with the Black Panther Party, and he was happy. He was silhouetted in there. And then it just cuts right to him at the FBI agent's house. You didn't need that for the story, but it enhances the story if you get it, you know? When he makes that call at the midpoint of the movie, and he's trying to get out, and the officer's like, no, you can't, you can still go to jail, and he hangs up like, dang, I have to stay in this. They pull out.
Pull out.
Or they cut out to a wide shot, and they see vines all on this wall. And to me, that symbolized he was in like a tangled web, and basically he was in the weeds now. You know, he's in the thick of it. And lastly, when spoilers are okay, right? You sure? For real this time. This is a big spoiler. If you don't know history, you know, and you haven't seen the movie yet. I mean, obviously you haven't. It hasn't come out yet. I mean, you haven't. Sorry, I'm talking to, you know. But spoiler alert, whatever. Anyway, at the end of the movie, when Fred Hampton is shot, they don't decide to show him actually being shot in bed while he's already dying. Instead, they show his wife's face as she tries to hold it together with their baby in her stomach, and she tries to keep a straight face as much as possible as she hears her husband get shot in the background. That was way more powerful than if they showed him getting shot, because we connect with the emotion on her face rather than, you know, just seeing him get shot, which we already knew that was going to happen, or we assumed.
Now, you know I had to talk about the score. The score was honestly amazing. It used a lot of incorporations of jazz as well as blues, funk, a little bit of everything. But one thing they continued to do was use that consistent sounds throughout the film. For an example, whenever Lakeith's character was up to something, they used that same disturbing melody to kind of showcase the way he was feeling, or to make you excited from the audience perspective of, okay, well dang, what's gonna happen? Is he gonna be alright? One thing that stood out specifically for me was the bass lines that she used as well. It's like an orchestrated stand-up bass. But during the actual debates and during the actual talking that was very powerful, it was crazy how they was able to use something just as simple as a bass line to really showcase just that powerful moment that it was displaying. Pull out.
Now the themes of the movie I've already kind of touched on a little bit, but they choose O'Neill as the main character to kind of put you in the middle of this struggle and almost let you decide which way you would go. But they also tell this true story of O'Neill and make you sympathize with him, but also disagree with him at the same time. You know, because he's going through a really tough decision. You know, he wants to stay out of jail. He doesn't want to die. And they said they're going to tell the Black Panther Party that he was the snitch. And they're going to kill him, you know, if he doesn't kill Fred Hampton. So you feel for the guy. Like, he has a hard decision on his hands. And at that point, he's too far in. So, you know, what can you really do? The honorable thing to do would be fess up to Fred Hampton. But that's a tough situation to be in, you know? But also, we side with the Black Panther Party because we see how ruthless the cops are. Even in the beginning they kind of show you like two sides and be like, FBI's like, yeah, the Black Panther Party and the KKK are the same. They both kill people, they both kill cops, they're both terrorist groups. And at the beginning you can kind of be like, I can kind of see that. They're talking to the gangs, they're trying to join with the gangs, they're trying to build an army. You kind of see the FBI's argument. Like, dang, they're actually kind of violent, you know? We also see Black Panther Party's perspective when we understand their anger and why they're so mad about everything and why they have turned to violence. And in the end, we see that it's really the discrimination from the cops and from white people. Mainly the cops, though. Let's focus on the cops more than white people in general, which I thought was really good, too. It's more nuanced than just white people, you know? Yeah, you kind of saw that in the end, it was really the cops oppressing black people that caused the Black Panther Party to feel like they have to be violent in order to get equality. In the end, we feel for Lakeith's character. You know, he's in a hard spot, but we also don't agree with him, which is very interesting. It's not often that you disagree with the main character but still empathize with them, and that is great writing.
Okay, so Trey killed that, so let's go ahead and get into the actual review for the project. Now, overall, I loved the movie, and even when it came to reviewing this, I enjoyed learning more about the history behind the story of Fred Hampton. I didn't know the story beforehand, but I did know about the Black Panthers. I just didn't know all of the extent. So I thought this was a great way to really tell that story while also not boring you with the facts and then putting it all in your face. I mean, like Trey said, you're able to be entertained with just the story itself, and then it makes you think, well, dang, is this a fiction? Is this a true story? It's just that good. Now, if I was to give my better ifs, I would definitely say I wish they touched on Fred Hampton's more positive side and positive note. But obviously the Black Panther organization was really kind of showcased as a cop-killing organization more so than just the more community side. I wish that was a little bit more emphasized to show the more positive realm. But again, I think with the tone of the movie and the way that they approach this movie and the themes of the movie, I thought it was kind of perfectly done, so it didn't really necessarily need it.
The only thing I could really say about this movie that it would be better is I kind of wish that they characterized O'Neill's character a little bit more in the movie, because we really didn't know who he was outside of his role in the movie as the FBI informant. We didn't know where he came from. We didn't know why he stole cars. Like, was he poor? Did he just do it for fun? You know, like, what's the deal? Because he's specifically focused on cars, and it's like, I mean, I feel like he could steal other stuff too, maybe. They could have characterized his character a little bit more, made him a real character. I feel like everybody else was a full person, a full character, and he was kind of just like a placeholder for the audience, which I could see if they were going for that angle. That could work too. That might be what they have done. But, you know, I would have liked to see a little bit more characterization there. My favorite part of the movie was the first day out speech, of course. First day out single. My least favorite part is going to be a little bit of a cop-out, but it's the fact that it's a true story. You know, it's sad that this all really happened. Like, watching it, I didn't know about any of the stuff, you know, beforehand. But watching it, I was like, is this a true story or is this fictional, you know? And when they put in the real guy, the real O'Neill at the end, I was like, oh my gosh. They didn't even say based on a true story. Like, they just showed like the exact things that happened. Like, this is a historical anecdote, you know?
My favorite part is a little bit towards the end when Jimmy was kind of at the stage where he was running away from the cops. But to be honest, he wasn't even running. He was going head on with these cops. Like, he had this freaking AK-45 shooting every single one. He had aim. It kind of like Call of Duty out there. I just like that just because it was very entertaining and it really showcased like, dang, they were serious about what they meant. Like, they will die for the cause and die for the people. My least favorite part of the movie, I kind of gotta agree with Trey. It's just a matter of fact of this is a true story. And this is how the world was at one point. There was so much hatred and there's still hatred now, so it's just sad to really see that this is our reality and this is our history.
My rating, I give this movie a 9 out of 10. Yeah, it was great. After I watched it, I said this might be the best black movie I've ever watched. And a day later, I think I still stand by that. I thought right before recording this, I thought about, I was like, I forgot about Black Panther. Black Panther is the blackest movie ever made. Fun fact. But I would say this is better than Black Panther to me. Ooh, a hot take. Yeah, better than Black Panther.
Trey gives it a 9 out of 10. I had to give it a 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. And I'm definitely gonna watch it again, probably multiple times. It's a pretty long film, but it keeps you engaged from the beginning to the end. And that's one thing that I love about it. And you don't really find too many films like that. So if you add my score and Trey's score, you divide it by 2, you get a 9.5 out of 10 for this film. Definitely check it out, I recommend it. And from Trey's suggestion, go ahead and comment down your favorite black movie. Yo, Trey, thank you for being on, man. No one could have broke down the film as best as you. So I'm grateful that you're able to be on, man. And hey, yo, man, you gotta get on the YouTube, bro. Go ahead. Comment below if you should start a YouTube channel, because I think so. You know, I mean, why not?
It's kind of weird talking to a camera. I don't know. We'll see how many views it gets and stuff. And let me know if you liked my analysis in the comments. Hit that like button, you know? It really helps with the algorithm. Stevie just got monetized, you know that? That's crazy. That's why you probably got ads on this video. But anyway, yeah. Thank you for having me. Hope to be on again. And everybody watch the movie tomorrow. But safely. Because COVID.
But if you watch it to the end, thank you so much. Remember, your own limitations are those in your own mind. And Stevie TV out.
Alright, Trey TV out. Okay, I'm done.